Hello, everybody. Welcome again to webinar number 5 of Public Speaking Now I Can Presentations at Sell. I'm Laurie Smale, Master Speaking Coach and Inspirational Speaker. I'm also the author of How to Take the Panic Out of Public Speaking, which is the basis of these whole 10 webinar sessions, life-changing sessions, practical sessions that really work. Now, for those of you who don't know me, I'm a member of the Australian Society of Authors, and I've written 3 books that take us from I can't to I now can in all sorts of communicating situations, be it with one person or in front of 1,000. The first thing we've got to do is get ourselves right first. So that's what the first book does. It's a sort of a trilogy, a package of tried and proven concepts and ideas that take us from I can't to I can. Finding me. The first person I had to find was myself before I could help others, and that took me decades. So this is an exciting journey of overcoming insecurity and self-doubt. Then the next book is How to Be a Conversational Success in any situation. Feel comfortable no matter who it is or where it is. And then once we've got ourselves right and we've got that sort of situation right, then we can take that up in front of an audience. And they feel wonderful when they feel that you can connect with each of them on a personal level as if you were having a conversation. And that's the secret. That's the fundamental underpinning of being able to stand up before an audience and hold them in the palm of your hand. And we're going to show you how to do that without the panic. So I also have a presence on social media with my weekly inspirational quotes, my weekly magic minute videos. You may have seen those, Laurie Smale's Magic Minute, little snippets of life to brighten up your day. And monthly articles where I go into things a little bit more deeper. And I also produce a monthly newsletter that goes out via email and LinkedIn. And if you want to avail yourself of this information, this practical information, you can do so on QR code that takes you to my contact page link. Or I'm on all these social media platforms over here with the appropriate link. So if you want to follow, subscribe, or notify me, that's where you can go. And to subscribe for my newsletter, we can do so down here on LinkedIn or down here on online. A couple more things. I acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we're based. Slides and video recording link will go out to all registrants. If you've got anything to add to the chat, that's fine. And if you feel like giving me some feedback, good or bad, reviews, do so, either on the chat or online. So, what have we got today? We've got presentations that sell. And the first thing we've got to sell before we sell any services or products is us. Because if people don't buy us, they won't buy what we have to offer. And the first thing we've got to do is see this guy here. He's got a big question mark over his head. And this is because he's a bit doubtful about being there in the first place. He doesn't really know whether he's going to be accepted or not, or whether the truth's going to be found out about him. He doesn't know as much as they think he should. So if you've got the slightest doubt, go back to webinar 1, because that sorts those sort of things out, getting you right first. Webinar 1 in this series does the trick. So does my book. So that done, then we've got to answer this question. How will your product or service help me? That's what they'll be sitting there thinking. And what we've got to do is create an eager want to want to know more. So the person sitting there thinking, hey, that's my problem. That's something I've had for years. Wouldn't it be great if that could be solved? So that's what we're going to do today. show you how to be an agent of helpfulness. I'll say that again, an agent of helpfulness, not someone who's just blatantly flogging stuff. So what we're going to do, I'm going to show you how I would sell my books, which to all intents and purposes are just more self-help books. What do I say so that people, and in this case you, are going to make an effort to pick them up and read what's on the front and back, flip a page. How do I change my listeners' concepts from, oh, it's just another book, to, wow, I want to know more. Let me explore that a bit more. And so what we'll do, we'll start with the first one. I've got 3 of them. So this one was called Finding Me, Finding You. This is the most important thing of all. Before you even begin to think about speaking, before you even begin to stand up before, have you earned the right to be there? Are you radiating confidence? And if you notice this butterfly on the front of my book, it's only half formed because for many, many years, I was insecure. And so now I've got both wings. They might have the beautiful colours of this fella, but I can still fly wonderfully. Okay. And so by the end of the book, I have both my wings. So by finding me, I'm now able to help you find you. And so that's our first step. And I've earned the right to write that book because I grew up in a little country town. Believe it or not, Seaford was such a thing in the 1950s. And had a single mum, 5 kids, war widow, and it was tough. You know, there wasn't a lot of love there. We were just sort of surviving, but a bit of a Huckleberry Finn type of existence. And I was already working in a junkyard when I was 13. I'd run away from school because maths absolutely tormented me. And from then on, I worked in manual type work, from digging trenches to working in factories. For maybe 20 years, I did that sort of work. So I didn't have a lot of, excuse me, I didn't have a lot of self-security. And this went on year after year. But I always thought, I'm going to be successful. It was always in the future. But guess what? The future just doesn't seem to come. But when you're younger, you don't care because the future's so far away, you know it's going to happen anyway. You know you're going to get there. But by the time I was 40, I was thinking, hey, have I left my run too long? Too late? And I've done some incredible things in my life, don't get me wrong. But they were all stepping stones, little successful things that I'd done. It wasn't until I was in my late 40s that I finally started to twig that maybe what I've done is of value. Maybe I've got my own font of life's learnings. Maybe they're worth something. And I started to not waste another few decades. And so that's one of the reasons why I wrote this book. Apart from my kids thinking that their daggy dad had done something with his life before they came along. But more importantly, I wrote that book to help other people from wasting decades of their lives continually telling themselves, as I did, that I was uneducated, I'd never read a book, and this, that, and the other. I had a daily dose of that. I don't do that anymore. And I help people not do that to themselves either. We've got to nourish our self-worth, nourish our self-esteem. So now I walk tall. I'm not perfect. And now that I've got myself right, I can help others do the same and not waste decades doing it. But by the end of the book, traveling with me, sharing my trials and tribulations, my laughter, my tears, my joy, my successes, my failures, lots of them. But here I am today. quite confident, helping others shed their fears and be confident too. It's all in the book. Get your hands on a copy. It's a bit like a book I've got. As one of my hobbies, I teach Italian. I'm not Italian. I learned it in factories. But I've got this book called Buongiorno Italia. And this book, if I lose it or misplace it, I fret. I really do. So these books that I'm talking to you about today are like that. They're experiential. They're thought-shifting. They're not staid textbooks. And you'll fret if you misplace them and you can't find them, because you'll have them for decades like I do with that book, and you won't want to lose it. It'll be special to you. That's what this book is. Finding me, finding you. So, while all this was going on, and I didn't believe in myself, I didn't believe that I had anything to offer anyone else. Like I said, I was proud that I'd never read a book. How dumb is that? No, it's not dumb. It was just ignorant. It's sad. Oh yes, I'm still a plodder, but I've read a lot of books and they've widened my thinking. And I love books. I encourage others to read them too that are not readers. You want to contribute something to a conversation, you've got to put something in there first. So what I did over these years, because I had nothing to share, in my mind, nothing to share. I'd never done anything. I'd listen to other people and egg them on to speak and listen to them for hours about their trials, their tribulations, their travels, their ups and downs, the things they'd done. And I didn't realise it, that I was developing the art of being a successful conversationalist, being a listener, egging people on. Well, what happened then? I bet Jono didn't like that. I bet he did his thing and sorted things out. And I listened to them for hours. And as the years went by, I found that I felt comfortable conversing with others, mostly listening to what they had to say. But it's come to the point now where I can contribute a little bit of me too, because I'm proud of what's in there in my font of wisdom. That magic little book can do the same for you. It's part of the package. You write first. Learn to be able to feel comfortable in any situation. And then we move to the daddy of them all, the panic of public speaking, and how to transfer all this up in front of an audience so they feel comfortable in your presence, so they feel like you're talking to them personally. And it's funny how it started. I was about 32 and I found myself in London with a one-way ticket. So whatever I did had to work. I was working on building sites, actually, as a bit of an all-rounder. I'd become pretty good at anything to do with my hands as the years went by. And I talked my way into a job, being a camping tour leader, specialising in the Vikings throughout Scandinavia. Can you believe that? And so, of course, this was all about public speaking. Now, I'd had a hit and miss sort of experience with that. Some good things happened, but mostly, terrifying things happening. So I did a 6-week course, crash course on the Vikings, crash course on a training trip, crash course on all the theory. But this particular day, I found myself on a real coach with 40 young under 35s, eyes wide open, expecting the trip of a lifetime. And in their eyes, I was the seasoned expert that was going to give it to them. Well, I stood up before them, introduced as such, and my knees were knocking, my hands were shaking. I was literally terrified. So all I did was just rattle through my first little talk of the do's and don'ts. And I sat down on the front seat beside my driver. My heart was pounding. My hands were sweating. But guess what? I didn't die. I had nowhere to go but up. They were there. They weren't going away. They knew none of this was going on inside me. They just assumed that that was, just the do's and don'ts talk. And so what I did then, I developed this little art of taking the pressure off me. So I asked lots of questions in my presentations. Can anyone relate to that? I can see some heads nodding. You've been there too. And these little questionable techniques, not for the whole talk, but just 2 or 3 in a talk, they connect people with you. So I sat down on each of those couple as we drove on their way down to Dover to get the ferry from London, and with a map, introduced myself and told them where we're going for the day, told everyone else on the mic first that that's what I was going to do. The pressure went off me. I sat down, I befriended all these people, I showed them the maps. By the time I got around, I was starting to feel good. And by the end of that 6-week course, I felt comfortable up in front of people. I had no idea I was public speaking. I just knew I was being me, the imperfect Laurie, but I had some magic about me that they liked. 10 years later, when I was back in Melbourne, I decided to do a public speaking course because I didn't equate what I'd been doing as public speaking. And what I found was they were more sort of focused on body language and pace and pitch and modulation and technical sort of peripheral things. Of course, on those trips, I always knew what I wanted to say. I had a sort of a plan and a point I wanted to make. But all those peripheral external things, I didn't give a second's thought. I just stood up with pride and spoke as I'm doing now. I thought, I wonder if I can teach this conversational, panic-free approach to others. And so began Laurie Smale's panic-free public speaking. And since then, thousands, over 40 years, of people have shed their fears and now able to speak before groups with confidence. It's all in the book. That book will not gather dust. It's an experiential thing. It'll take you alone from I can't to I now can. It's got 50 years of experience in there. I give it to you in a few hours of reading. It's precious. The 3 books, the 3 magic books in this passage of ideas to take you from I can't to I now can. I wrote them so that you wouldn't waste years of your life saying, I hate public speaking, it's terrifying. It can be a pleasant experience. And those 3 books alone will take you there. So, let's build on that. So, public speaking. That's the magic book. And you see, product knowledge is vital too. You've got to get yourself right. You've got to feel good at speaking. And then in your presentation, you've got to know your product. Now, I'm an expert on my product of fear and insecurity and overcoming that. An expert, because I've studied it every which way. The person that wrote these books is that same authority. Everything in those books rings true because they're tried, they're proven, they're tried and proven again and again until they're refined and work. No mumbo jumbo, just practical ideas and strategies that work. Stories of real people you can relate to. So know your product as well as I know mine, as well as you know yourself. Now, you might be in your job, just like me with the Viking trips. Oh, by the way, I became a real expert on that by the end of those 3 years, and I loved it. I just wondered why I felt the way I did at the start. So let's look at this iceberg. So here we have you just starting a job. Just say you've been moved on to another job and you're not as confident as you were with the last one. Or it could even be your first job or one you haven't been in that long. Here's a little strategy I did. When I was a salesman for home improvements, okay, I did a crash again, 6-week crash course. Now, underneath the visible iceberg, look at all this. And I knew that back at the office, there were about 30 or so experts who knew everything about home improvements, from design to building. And several lifetimes of experience among those people. So that's what I used to say. I used to tell my clients, look, between me and what we've got back at the office, we have got several lifetimes of practical experience of people that have been doing this for many years. So whatever our problem is, we can solve it for you. So suddenly I was part of that group. And as an expert and as an agent of helpfulness that I mentioned before, that was my job, to get them to talk, to tell me their ideas, their dreams, how they wanted this thing built, designed. And I'd ask her, say, well, what are your ideas? I remember one lady, she said, oh, well, I want to move my laundry from there over there. I want a bedroom over there. And I thought that we might have a doorway there because I've got a big sideboard that's a family heirloom, and I want that to be part of it. And I listened to her, and as she was talking, I could see that it was really nothing more than a glorified walkway, and it'd be very hard to furnish, including put that sideboard in. But I just tossed a couple of little ideas to her to help her, gently guide her. And I said, right, what I'd like to do, I'll take lots of photos, I'll take all the measurements and go back to our team. And based on all this discussion we've had, we'll come up with a couple of designs, and I'll give you a call in a couple of days. And that's what we did. And I came back and showed her. She was absolutely thrilled that everything she wanted was somehow incorporated into a design. Okay, we didn't move the laundry. We said, look, we can leave that where it is because we want to keep that nice northern light. We don't want to plonk the bedroom right there. We can put it over there. And when I showed her that everything these experts had helped design for me, she loved it. And so that's what you've got to be an agent of helpfulness. An agent of helpfulness, whatever you're selling, whether it's self-help books, whether it's self-help courses, whether it's home improvements, or whether it's what you want other people to benefit from. Do you hear that? I didn't say what you sell. I said, what do you want other people to benefit from? That agent of helpfulness concept again. So, another thing too, don't bamboozle your listeners with jargon and big words. You know, I remember one girl in one of my panic-free speaking workshops. She was telling a story about a dream she had the other night and was interpreting it, and Pegasus appeared, and Pegasus did that, and Pegasus did this. And I said to the audience, does anyone know who or what Pegasus exactly is? Can I see your hands? And only half the people put their hands up. The rest knew it was something to do with ancient Greece. They didn't know. And after lunch, I got her to give the talk again. This time, she opened with these words. 2 nights ago, I had a dream. And in that dream, Pegasus appeared, that magnificent flying horse of Greek mythology. I stopped her and I said, can I see your hands if you know who or what Pegasus is? And everyone put their hands up. So don't use jargon or words people aren't used to in your talks. You've got them for one time and one time only to get them to soak in what it is you're trying to persuade them about. Make sure they know who your Pegasus is, because you've got them and you've only got them on that particular occasion. So remember that we're not there to blatantly flog stuff. We're there to help people solve their problems. So be like this guy. Once his problem is solved, it brings to mind the story of David, a sales manager in a very large pump and water retriculation company worldwide. And he found himself talking to the greensman of a large golf course. And the golfer said, "Oh, look, the water pressure's just not working. It hasn't worked for years. Problem was handed to me by the previous greensman, and I've just got to, try and adjust things and that." And this is one of Australia's top golf courses, and it's a never-ending battle to stop them rutting with this subtle jettings of water. And David said, "Well, look, let's just have a look around and for a while." And he went and he tested a few things out, and then over to the side amongst the scrub in the rough, he found a little concrete pad. And he said, "What's under here?" And he said, "Well, I don't know." So I lifted it up. There was a little valve designed specifically to register and adjust water pressure. Problem solved. Probably saved him $30,000. And Dave said, because of that, not just going there to blatantly sell stuff, I got the contract. And again, an agent of helpfulness. And that's pretty well what I do with these webinars, 10 of them. I spend months preparing them. 5 this year, we're going to have 5 next year. I give you all my magic, all my practical ideas. And then you might say, "Hey, listen, I want to keep a chunk of Laurie. I want to invest in those 3 books and keep them with me and consult them often, because they're going to help me become a more confident